Gotta sign in. Open in web browser. Close. Okay. Gonna give it a minute or two just because we're starting 5 minutes late. Oh no. A little bit rough in the production side this time. Going to start with a pretty big roundup. Got a lot of different sets. But I think it's time to roll the intro animation. Which is right here. No. Right here. Ah, we got it. No upgrade this week, just maintenance. It was a lot of sets to put in. Hello, Rain. Welcome to the chat. As far as what I'm planning for the intro, I want the light source to oscillate back and forth, and I'm just having trouble getting the right function. I think a little bit of dynamic lighting would make it look good, because right now it's just got the one spotlight at a static angle and it looks a little bit funny, but I wanted it to reflect off of the metal letters so that it'd look better, like a little bit of a shimmer as it goes from left to right. But figuring out, in terms of frames, a function that will cause the light to do that is a little tricky. So that's something for next time, hopefully. In terms of the stream this time, though, we're going to do another rundown because I think there are like 6 minor sets released right before we get to the main event, the booster set for this time. There are a lot of products released for the game. Like something that I've noticed while doing this series, that we're on the 12th booster set, but there's something like 40 or 50 products released at this point. Some of them are the video game promos and structure decks and starter decks, auxiliary products, and sets that like include one new card or reprints of a lot of older cards. But then they have one on top of that, and it's a little tricky to keep track of everything. What will the intro look like the further in the set history? I'm planning on making it go by faster, but when we get to GX, I want to replace the desert with grass or maybe some waves and then grass, but I don't know. I gotta get a lot better in Blender before I can think about that. Hey, Uwu Rain Uwu. I also think it's funny that I couldn't find art, so I just put the card for a couple different sets. And tracking down some of these things are really hard. Like, I have no idea if the WB promo card came in some sort of packaging, because it was 20 years ago and no one has it, I guess. Same thing with Sengenjin. I'm early for once. Wowee! Nice to have you, Bossa Nova. Ayo, back again. Nice to see you again, Mr. Metal. Finally, we're at Soul of the Duelist. Okay, as mentioned earlier, we're going to go through the promo cards for the video game Reshif of Destruction, Power of Chaos, Joey the Redemption? Joey the Passion. I think it's Kaiba the Revenge. The exclusive pack, not to be confused with the movie promo cards, which are released at about the same time, and then the 6 structure deck 10 cards. But before that, we actually got Sengenjin. Should probably put it. Oh, no. There we go. Sengenjin. This name translates into, like, Millennium Man, I think. This card actually got a retrain very recently in the Infinite Forbidden, where he wakes up after 1,000,000 years. But it also has archetype inclusion text to make sure that you know that this is a Millennium monster and will be treated as such. This is one of our first World Championship cards that I'm going to be featuring. There are also 2 illegal cards, the match winners that came out alongside him. We're not going to worry about illegal cards too much. But this guy, theoretically you could play him if you really wanted to. Sengenjin, Earth Attribute, level 8, Beast Warrior, an unstoppable savage that carries Millennium items. Strange ones, too. It looks like the Millennium Mace, the Millennium Widowmaker, and the Millennium Spear, the lesser known ones. The Millennium, I don't know, shoulder spikes? Very interesting. 2750 attack, 2500 defense. Behold his mighty Millennium Mace, Axe, and Spear. Those are not bad stats, but I just don't know if this is ever useful. And I know people are going to mention that you can special summon directly from the deck with the new Primordial cards, and I'll get to that one day. Right now I'm just going to say it's not great. Next up, Dark Magician Knight. Dark Attribute, level 7. Warrior effect, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned with Knight's title, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When this card is special summoned, target 1 card on the field, destroy that target. 2500 attack, 2100 defense. So it keeps Dark Magician's stat lineup, but gains a pop on summon. You have to go -1 to get this card out because you need the Dark Magician and you need to activate Knight's title. So that's a small problem already. I don't think that this card is useful even in a Dark Magician deck. Well, maybe not. I think if you want to make it playable, it's going to be bad, but it's not unusable. It's not like a Dark Scorpion card. Going along with our Dark Magician Knight, we have Knight's Title, normal spell, tribute 1 face-up Dark Magician. Special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which I really like the graveyard part. That means that it's not necessarily dead, that you could toss this with your Graceful Charity or your Card Destruction or your Morphing Jar. There's a lot of good discard outlets that can facilitate putting specifically the Knight into the graveyard without worrying too much. Still a -1 though, but then you recoup the -1 and it's a little bit of board presence. I don't know. I think a lot about this card, or I think a lot about these 2 cards in particular. The third promo is Sage's Stone. If you control a face-up Dark Magician Girl, special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand or deck. And this is special summon from the deck, which is pretty good. And I want to say that it's acceptable in Archetype if you're playing the Dark Magician Girl, and there are builds that can play the Dark Magician Girl, but are you going out of your way to get a kinda good effect? And I guess that's up to interpretation. I think you can make it work, but it might be forcing it. Moving on to the power of Chaos Joey, we have Sebek's Blessing. Quick play spell. If a monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, gain the same amount of life points. I don't think that this is particularly good. Comment from Mr. Metal Man, had no idea they printed cards this good for DM. So early, too. Are you saying Sage's Stone and Knight's Title are good cards? I think special summoning from the deck one of the strongest effects in the game, but I don't know if I'd put them very high. Sebek's Blessing, though, I think it's okay at best. I think there are better ways to try to gain life points, like your Draining Shield and your Enchanted Javelins. This is a win more card, because if you're attacking directly, then do you need to be gaining life points? And the answer is probably no, because you're in a good position already. Next up, we have the Sword of Dragon's Soul, which is so awkward to say. Equip only to a warrior monster, it gains 700 attack. After damage calculation, if the equipped monster battled a dragon monster, destroy that monster at the end of the battle phase. So this card pretty much reads, equipped to a warrior monster, it gains 700 attack. A lot of warriors actually already fit into this niche of taking you out when they battle. You think about DD Warrior Lady, Bullblader, Sasuke Samurai, even some of the other ones like Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. This is another one of those type effects, but only against dragons. And there are a lot of dragons running around, but I don't think that it's enough to save the card. I think you're much better off with, well, a lot of different options. Moving on to our exclusive pack, we have Theon the Great Sphinx. Light attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Level 10. Beast effect. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by paying 500 life points when both Andrew Sphinx and Sphinx Telia on your side of the field are destroyed at the same time. Then you can special summon this monster from your hand or deck. So, another one that special summons directly from the deck. I know that upset people with Dark Sage and some of the Metal Morphed cards. When this card is special summoned by paying 500 life points, Increase the attack of this card by 3,000 points until the end of the battle phase. 3,500 attack, 3,000 defense. Those are really high stats, and it gets even stronger, but it does cost life points. But you gotta be playing the other Sphinxes, and they have to get destroyed at the same time. So you gotta walk into a Torrential Tribute or a Dark Hole, or... I think when Pyramid of Light... Yeah. If it is removed from your side of the field, it does destroy both of them. Oh, but it also removes them from play. Okay, so it doesn't actually care. Theon the Great Sphinx doesn't actually care if Andrew and Telia get banished because of the Pyramid of Light destruction effect, so that's good at least. I'm gonna say it's very bad. Metal says, it's neat that the Pyramid of Light cards were printed, but they did not have to be so bad. And I think the ones in the movie, like the actual pyramid, all it did was stop the Egyptian god cards. And the Egyptian god cards weren't even legal, so what were you going to do with it? I do want to note that I think it's the Nouveau deck. These are level 10 beasts, so it actually does have a little bit of synergy with that deck. Still to this day, emotionally devastated, the Pyramid of Light does not have an effect outside of nuking the Sphinxes. Oh, that is sad. It's like Toon World. Next up, Andro Sphinx. Light attribute, level 10, beast effect. You can pay 500 life points to special summon this card when Pyramid of the Light is on the field. This card cannot attack during the turn that it is normal or special summoned. This is reading a lot like a Toon monster now that I think of it. This is like a Toon monster with different steps, not necessarily extra steps. This card cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. If this card destroys a defense position monster as a result of battle, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to half the attack of the destroyed monster, 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense. It's big. It's beefy. We don't have Malefics yet, but I think all the Sphinxes are just going to be bad. Next up, Sphinx Telia. Light attribute, level 10. Beast effect. You can pay 500 life points to special summon this card when Pyramid of Light is on the field. This card cannot attack the turn that it is normal or special summoned. This card cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. If this card destroys a defense position monster as a result of battle, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to half the defense of the destroyed monster. And then it's got the reverse stats. 2,500 attack and 3,000 defense. I actually think that this one is much worse than Andro Sphinx. Also in the pack, we have Rare Metal Dragon. Dark attribute, level 4, Dragon, effect. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. 2,400 attack, 1,200 defense. And there are decent ways to get this out of hand. Familiar Knight right here is in the list. I don't think that's one of the decent ways. But if you did want to use like Marauding Captain, this is a 2,400 attack beater. And that's not that bad. I think that's reaching though. The upside of this card having high attack after jumping through some hoops is not very big for me. Next up, Petin the Dark Clown. Dark, level 3, Spellcaster, effect. When this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon one Petin the Dark Clown from your hand or deck. 500 attack, 1,200 defense, and this card misses the timing so easily. Like, you want to synchro summon with this card? You can, but What happens last is that the monster is summoned, which means the patent misses the timing. You want to tribute this card? Well, you can, but you're going to miss the timing and you won't get another patent. There's even cards which resolve in multiple steps, like Soul Taker, where if they use Soul Taker on your Pet in the Dark Clown, you're going to miss the timing, and you're not going to get another one. Not that that's going to happen, but it's both very poor and very good design. It's poor because people are going to be confused. Like, it doesn't do what you think it does. The card is OP in school playground because no one understands how timing works. Exactly, Uwu. If you're a cheater, this card is great. But sadly, I think the card is just bad as a result. Reborn Tengu, but unusable. Exactly. Reborn Tengu, really good card. Like, Reborn Tengu, one of the best cards in the game when it was out for, I don't know, years. Just because of how consistent it was to get back advantage and synchro and synchro and synchro or tribute, or you do a lot of fun stuff with Tengu. I guess this is Reborn Tengu at home. Reborn Tengu at school. Thank you, Chizu. Next up, Familiar Knight. Dark Attribute, level 3, Warrior effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, each player can special summon one level 4 monster from their hand. 1200 attack, 1400 defense. I don't think the stat lineup's good. I don't think the effect is good. I think it being symmetric is just weird for no reason. Like, think about this through for a second. Your opponent crashes into your Familiar Knight. You get a monster from hand, like a meat shield to block damage. They get a monster from hand to then attack whatever you just summoned. It is so bizarre that this card is symmetric. Like, just special summoning from hand is already a little sad. I guess we don't have Warrior Lady of the Wasteland yet for, warrior tutoring, but the card is bad for no reason, I think. Next up, Inferno Tempest. Quick play spell. When you take 3,000 or more battle damage from one attack, you can activate this card. Remove all monsters in each player's deck and graveyard from play. This card is amazing. This card can single-handedly win you the duel. This effect is ridiculously powerful. The card, however, is not playable because it's just not consistent. There are ways that you can cheese this. You used to be able to summon Grinder Golem and then use one of the Grinder Golem tokens and crash into it, and then take the 3,000 points of damage that way. But I don't think that's a good strategy. I think the Achilles heel for this card is it doesn't hit anything in hand, or more importantly, it doesn't hit anything on the field. So this doesn't subtract from any existing board pressure that your opponent has, and unless your deck is really built around not functioning with monsters, then what are you going to do in opposition? I think it's sad though. Like, Inferno Tempest looks and reads amazing until you start thinking about it. Movie packs aren't looking so great so far. But that changes with Return from the Different Dimension. Trap. Pay half your life points. Special summon as many of your remove from play monsters as possible. During the end phase, remove from play all monsters that were special summoned by this effect. I think this card's been banned for ages. I checked before the stream. I don't know if it fits into design mistake. If you could play it, it'd definitely be worth considering, but it is a trap, so it's a little slow right now. I think we're just going to put it in meta at one point, but keep in mind, it might be playable in the future if Konami changes how the ban list is structured. Got a comment, trap monster decks can use this in respect to Inferno Tempest. Interesting. I guess because it wouldn't banish your trap monsters. Next up, Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. Light attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of level 10s. Dragon effect, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This card does not exist in the TCG for a couple years, I think. So this card is literally unplayable on release. Gains 300 attack for each dragon monster in your graveyard, which is like a bootleg version of Dark Paladin or Buster Blader effect. Or I guess Red Eyes Darkness Dragon is the Red Eyes one that gets this effect. When a card or effect is activated that targets this card, quick effect, you can negate that effect. 3000 attack, 2500 defense. It doesn't even keep the Blue Eyes ultimate stat line up, which I think is a real waste. It's like, I guess it's a different version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, but you gotta jump through the biggest hoop possible, or I guess the smallest hoop. Jumping through a big hoop is easier than jumping through a small hoop. It's a very high hoop, though. All DD lore cards are cursed to be broken or pack filler. Well, that's pretty true, actually. As said in one of your older streams, wasn't playable on release, yeah. I think Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, though, was just never playable. I think it goes right here, which is a little sad. That effect, though, that quick effect at the end, that's pretty good. I guess if you kept the 4,500 attack and then you made it stronger, you got 4 different Blue Eyes cards. You got the ultimate and then 3 others, so it gains 1,200 attack, so it's at 42, and if you got another one in graveyard, then it's got the same stats, and I don't know. It tributes Blue Eyes Ultimate. I've been misreading it for a while now. Yep. Card is completely unplayable. It's so sad. Also, in the movie promos, we got the Sorcerer of Dark Magic. Dark attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Spellcaster effect, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster type monsters, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and to resolve this effect. 3,200 attack, 2,800 defense. I think this card is playable. I don't think that you play it right now, because trap cards aren't good right now, outside of a few very specific matchups. But I think if you're playing a Prophecy deck or a Kaga deck, I guess, there are some ways that you could bring this out. I think the barrier for summoning this monster has only gotten lower as the game has gotten faster, and there's so many more ways to get this out. I remember when this came out, one of my friends said that his strategy was to fusion summon Sandwich and tribute that and another card in order to get it out. I'd say nearly playable on release. I think I've seen it in a Prophecy deck, but it might have been in a side deck specifically. This might be apocryphal, and I'm sorry if it is. Next up, Wadapon. Light attribute, level 1, fairy effect. If this card is added from your deck to your hand by a card effect, you can special summon this card. 200 attack, 300 defense, and probably the best card out of this pack. Like, it's very interesting that you just special summon this card and it's enough to make it playable in my mind. It's not necessarily a combo extender, but there are some very interesting applications with this. The first Poplar. Interesting. Next up, Pyramid of Light. Continuous Trap. If this face-up card is removed from your side of the field, destroy Androsphinx and Sphinx Telia on your side of the field, and remove them from play. So we get the combo, get the 2 Sphinxes out, then get rid of your own Pyramid of Light, and then you get the Great Sphinx. The Wombo combo. Next up, Total Defense Shogun. Dark attribute, level 6, warrior effect. This card is changed to defense position when it is normal summoned or flip summoned successfully. This card can attack while it's in defense position. Hey, it's like a prototype for the super heavy samurai. If this card attacks while in defense position, apply the attack of this card for damage calculation. That's a little bit different though. 1550 attack, 2500 defense. I guess Rampart Blaster is also a prototype for the Super Heavy Samurai. This card's interesting. I think I understand the design philosophy, that they make a big defensive card that can still get in for some damage. I don't understand why they didn't give it more defense points. Or more attack points. It's like middle of the line and not good in either way. Like, we got Gear Golem the Moving Fortress, which has less attack and less defense, but can attack directly. And you compare it to this. Big Shield Gardena's got more defense points. And it's got 1550 attack, which means you can't even float into it with Mystic Tomato. Maybe if it had like 2800 defense points and or 2000 attack, it'd be a little bit better. But right now I can't see any use for it. Next up, Blade Knight. Light attribute, level 4, warrior effect. This card gains 400 attack while you have 1 or less cards in your hand. If you control no monsters, the effects of flip effect monsters destroyed by battle by this card are negated. 1600 attack, 1000 defense. This card was completely playable. And I know that it saw a little bit of play, specifically in warrior toolboxes. It's interesting that it's got 2 different conditions, and the 2 different conditions are you can accomplish both conditions at the same time without too much difficulty, but only if you're playing from behind. And I think that's really interesting. Or I guess if you're playing a lot of traps in your deck, then you just set everything from your hand and you only control this one monster. That could also work. Lamron Jr. Love this card for how perfectly acceptable it was. Yeah. The ace monster of my Duelist Bee. A fearsome foe indeed. Compared to Blade Knight, we have Command Knight. Fire attribute, level 4, warrior effect. All warrior type monsters you control gain 400 attack. So I guess if you summon this while you have Blade Knight on, it's got the same attack points. If you control another monster, monsters your opponent controls cannot target this card for an attack. There's a little bit of synergy between those. 1200 attack, 1900 defense. That's actually pretty decent defense points too. I think there's a little bit of anti-synergy, and maybe you're supposed to play this with Marauding Captain and Command Knight. I don't know. I think it's okay. Oh, is Command Knight male or female? Oh. All warrior type monsters gain 400 attack. So actually this card does go up to 1600 attack. That's very fair. I don't know what the wiki says. Usually the wiki lists if cards are female. She the order a traveler for warrior toolbox. Interesting. Okay, I'll bump it up to good on release. Next up, Swift Guy of the Fierce Knight. Oh, got more discussion on the artwork for Command Knight. Oh, I don't know. I think there's some ambiguity. I guess if you've seen like Rob Liefeld draw Captain America, then you might reconsider. Next up, Swift Guy of the Fierce Knight. Dark attribute level 7 warrior effect. If this card is the only card in your hand, you can normal summon this card without tributing. 2300 attack, 2100 defense. It's so sad that you gotta normal summon it. Like if it special summoned itself from hand, I guess we call it very swift Guy of the Fierce Knight, it'd be really, really strong. This is sort of like a proto-cyber dragon, and that's really interesting to me. I guess this is another card that you play from behind, similar to Blade Knight. Actually, it synergizes pretty well with Blade Knight. I don't think I've ever seen it be useful, and I know that there are cards that specifically include this card in their text. I think it's Spiral Spear Technique, I think is what it's called. And there's some other Gaia support that specifically references this card, but I think it's just okay. Next up, Insect Queen. Earth attribute, level 7, insect effect. This card gains 200 attack for each insect monster on the field. I guess that does include itself. Cannot declare an attack unless you tribute one monster. Oof, it's got the Panther Warrior effect. Once per turn during your end phase, if this card destroyed an opponent's monster by battle this turn, special summon one insect monster token. Insect Earth level 1, 100 attack, 100 defense, in attack position for some reason. 2200 attack, 2400 defense. I think this card is super underwhelming in like many ways. This is not a great token generator, and it got you tributed something in order to get that token. So you might even be going a loss in terms of virtual card advantage, because you might be tributing something useful in order to get out the token. And how do you get the Insect Queen out? I guess the Insect Queen buffs itself with the tokens. I just think it's very bad. It's just too weak. It would almost be forgivable if the eggs didn't spawn in attack mode. I don't think it would be. I think if the eggs were in defense mode, it'd move up to bad. But I think that's as high as it would get. Finally, for the Collectible 10s set 1, we have Obnoxious Celtic Guardian. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, effect. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that has 1900 or more attack. 1400 attack, 1200 defense. And this goes right in your warrior toolbox. It's just another tool to try to slow down your opponent. Insects can't catch a break. There's a running theme of high maintenance and underpowered bosses for them. Yeah, I can agree with that. Not only that, there's a suspicious amount of like insect hate to me. Because you got insect barrier and you got eradicating aerosol, but I'm not sure when eradicating aerosol comes to the TCG. Like, I know that whole set of cards that specifically target one type of monster and destroys them, I think they got delayed and changed and released after years compared to their OCG release. Maybe they're like bug type Pokemon where they're supposed to be weak. I don't know. I guess we're waiting for the insect Heracross. And we keep getting Kakunas. Do we have a misalignment? We do have a weird misalignment. Very strange. I'll fix that next time. Giving it 500 attack with a different card and thinking that you were the king of games. It's good flavor, at least. Bugs aren't even a threat, and yet we have a dozen ways to stomp on them. Yeah, I think it's a little sad, too. I think... Do you even run Eradicating Aerosol when Insectors are meta? Because I'm not sure you do. Okay. We're now moving on to the Soul of the Duelist. We actually get a continuation of our Enpachi story that's been going on in the background, with Charcoal Enpachi. Fire attribute, level 1, Pyro, normal. A wicked wooden spirit that is burned out. The barbecue grilled from... It got me. I'm laughing. The barbecue grilled from this... I can get through it. The barbecue grilled with this charcoal is so awesome that everybody thinks it's priceless. 100 attack, 2100 defense. Speaking of Pokemon, this feels like eating Slowpoke tails. I like this card. I think this is really high defense. I think Bunilla comes out later and it rivals this card in terms of defense on a level 1. It's interesting. I think because it's a level 1 Pyro, it opens up some interesting design space when we do get Rescue Hedgehog eventually. Like, the OCG has got it now. I don't know when the TCG gets Rescue Hedgehog. I think we're just going to keep it in filler for now. Next up, Neo Aquamador. Water attribute, level 6, spellcaster. The true nature of this wizard, who rules all water. Oh, I messed up the intonation. The true nature of this wizard, who rules all water. It defends itself with a vast, impenetrable wall of ice. 1200 attack, 3000 defense, and that stat lineup is actually pretty interesting. You can tutor this out with Mother Grizzly if you want to. I know that this card was good on release. I don't think I've seen a deck that uses it. I guess if you really wanted to, this is one of the spellcasters you could bring out and then get Sorcerer of Dark Magic off of it. It is level 6, so I don't think that's a good idea, but it's something you could do, I guess. I do like how they're front-loading all the normal monsters in the sets now. I think it makes it a little bit easier. And they are trying to continue to do new things with them. Like right now we have Skulldog Marin, we've seen Outstanding Dog Marin, I think we've seen Mecha Dog Marin, and we've seen Mad Dog of Darkness. These are all the same dog, possibly. Maybe not Mecha Dog Marin. Later, much later, he gets to play around with the Skull Servants, and that's cute. But right now, Skulldog Marin. Earth Attribute, level 4, Beast, a lost dog that wandered off 1,000 years ago. That was a really long time. He's still waiting for his master to come for him. 1350 attack, 2000 defense. That stat lineup is completely okay, I guess. Next up, Goblin Calligrapher. Dark Attribute, level 1, Fiend. A goblin who devotes himself to mastering perfect calligraphy of the word false. He gives his all of each stroke. 400 attack, 400 defense, part of the goblin archetype. You play your rescue rabbit and your rescue hedgehog in your goblins, I guess. Ooh, Jace puts out an interesting comment that Giant Soldier of Stone finally got power crept by 50 attack points with Skulldog Marin. Interesting. That is very interesting. I guess there's a little bit of a difference. Giant Soldier of Stone's still level 3, so it can attack under Gravity Bind, but interesting. I don't even know where to put Goblin Calligrapher. Is he useful in Goblin decks? Maybe. Is it useful with Rescue Hedgehog? Because you can get this out and, Stygian Security, and then make a Formula Synchron or another different level 2 Synchro? I don't know. There must be a story behind the Goblin Calligrapher. Memento is the continuation of the Goblin Calligrapher. I do know that. But I don't know. I'm just gonna put it in Gimmick for now. Next up, Ultimate Insect level 1. And wait a second. Does anyone notice anything missing? Where is the level 3, level 5? I think it goes all the way up to level 9, right? Why aren't they in this set? Like, this is the level set, right? Why isn't Ultimate Insect level 3 in here, at least? I think that's very odd. That makes this card pretty unplayable, right? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Wind Attribute, level 1, Insect effect. While this card is on the field, is unaffected by the effects of spell cards. Woo. During your standby phase, by sending this face-up card on the field to the graveyard, special summon 1 Ultimate Insect level 3 from your hand or deck. You cannot activate this effect the turn that this card is normal, special summoned, or flipped face-up. I like how it says the turn that is normal summoned. There's possibly a way where you could normal summon during the draw phase, but man, that'd be tricky. Goblin Calligrapher is related to the Goblin Kid from Gift Exchange. Interesting. The grossest insect yet. I think this card is first contender for very bad. A little sad though. Next up, Horus the Black Flame Dragon, level 4. Fire Attribute, level 4. Duh. Dragon effect, control of this face-up card cannot switch, which is like the most marginal bonus I can think of. I wonder how this actually interacts with creature swap. If you try to creature swap this card, what happens? That might be a very interesting interaction. Like, does creature swap effect work if control of one of the cards cannot switch? I'll have to look at it later. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard. Special summon 1 Horse the Black Flame Dragon level 6 from your hand or deck. 1600 attack, 1000 defense. And that's enough attack that it can meaningfully beat over some monsters. I think when I rate this one card, I might be rating all the Horus cards. I think that goes for all the level cards, maybe in this set, maybe in general, that they're all sort of a package. You don't usually play just one. You can't swap Horus, it's not a valid target. Thank you. So it does not work with creature swap. But that means it's also immune to your opponent's creature swap, which is good. Now, if you do destroy the monster, you level up into Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6. Fire attribute, level 6. It's very obvious. Dragon effect. This card is unaffected by spell cards, so all of them. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle, this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard. Special summon 1 Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 from your hand or deck. 2300 attack, 1600 defense. Attack's a little low, and you don't even get the boost from like your field spell, your Molten Destruction. Getting in with this card is the big problem, I think. But the effect is pretty good. It's immune to like Hammer Shot and Fissure and I guess Creature Swap and a whole bunch of other cards. Very interesting. I think it's less good than the level 4 one, but if you're getting it out for a cheaper cost, I think it's pretty good. Finally, we have Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8. Fire attribute, level 8. Dragon effect, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. 3000 attack, 1800 defense. This card is sorta like Spell Canceller. Sort of. And it's sorta better than Spell Canceller. Spell Canceller just turns it off completely, and this is, you just get to say no. It's not once per turn. So, this stops all of your opponent's spells if you want it to. I think the effect is really good, but it's a little bit difficult. I do want to point out that the level 6, you can just tribute summon it if you want to. It doesn't have to be special summoned through the level 4 effect, but I think it's not that difficult to bring it out from the level 4 effect. It's a little sad that it's during the end phase, but I can understand it too. If it were during, like, main phase 2, then you could probably activate level up and get the level 8 immediately, and that'd be a little too powerful. Next up, Dark Mimic level 1. Dark attribute, level 1, Fiend, flip, effect, flip, draw 1 card. Once per turn, during your standby phase, you can send this card to the graveyard. Special summon 1 Dark Mimic level 3 from your hand or deck. 100 attack, 1000 defense. And let's just talk about the artwork for a second. I think that this, as a Mimic, is doing a really poor job. I think anyone that looks at this is immediately going to see, tentacles, spikes, multiple eyes. This is not a real treasure container. And I don't actually think that that's bad in the art department, because when we get to the next one, Dark Mimic level 3, I think people would actually get fooled by this card. Summed up by Jarvis Bailey, it's just ooh. I think that it's filler, that there's a lot of different cards like this. There's Skellige, Poison Draw Frog, Alien Gray, a whole bunch of cards that just have a nice flip effect and draw a card, which isn't that bad. I think getting this effect to actually trigger is ridiculous, though, because you got to get it. I guess you could ignore the flip effect, so ignore the nice card draw, and then summon it during your opponent's turn with like Tomato or something, and then get the effect off. I don't know. It's weird. By comparison, Dark Mimic level 3, pretty good. Dark Attribute level 3, Fiend effect. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, draw one card. But if it was special summoned by the effect of Dark Mimic level 1, draw 2 cards instead. It's gone up to 1000 attack, 1000 defense. Too many steps. I can agree with it. I know that you use it as a tour guide target at some points. Like you'd just set it and then get to draw a card after they run over it in battle, but I don't know. I like the theme though. I like how it's a treasure card, because a lot of card draw is associated with treasure. Next up, Mystic Swordsman level 2, Earth Attribute level 2. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a face-down defense position monster, destroy that monster. Really good effect already. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon 1 Mystic Swordsman level 4 from your hand or deck. Wait a second. If its own effect triggers, then it's destroyed by effect. It's not destroyed by battle, is it? I wonder if this card has anti-synergy with itself. Got slightly different color. Somehow that got switched and I didn't notice. You put it in your warrior toolbox. I'm soft on Mystic Swordsman. He's cool for warrior beatdown. I can agree with that. I think Horus level 6 and 8 actually saw some play in Dragon Rulers with the level up spell, because Blaster can search the level 6. Oh man, that is crazy. If you'd played the level 6 and 8? That's crazy. I do think that Mystic Swordsman level 4 and I guess level 6 are actually outshined by their previous incarnation. Earth Attribute level 4 Warrior effect cannot be normal summoned, but can be normal set. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a face-down defense position monster, destroy that monster. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard. Special summon 1 Mystic Swordsman level 6 from your hand or deck. Starts out with 1900 attack and 1600 defense. I don't know, like, out of all of them, I guess they really want you to bring this one out with the level 2. I guess they started too low a level and they don't want you to just normal summon the 1900 attack monster, but I just think it's bad. A little sad though. When is the next Enhance Your Deck segment? Hopefully soon. I got the script written out. It's water. I think water is next, and then I think wind. So hopefully soon. Next up, Armed Dragon level 3. Wind attribute level 3. Dragon effect. During your standby phase, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon 1 Armed Dragon level 5 from your hand or deck. 1200 attack, 900 defense. And I really like this card. I really like the Armed Dragons in general. Yeah, don't like the summon restriction on the level 4 Swordsman. Armed Dragons. Let's go! I'm a big fan of them. Especially when we get into the level 5. I think this is one of the peak cards. Wind Attribute, level 5. You can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, then target one monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to the sent card's attack. Destroy that target. That's not once per turn, so if you have enough ammo, you can take out a lot of things. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon one Armed Dragon level 7 from your hand or deck. 2400 attack, 1700 defense. It is so interesting to me that it has a different level up mechanic than the level 3. Like, this is the Horus mechanic, but the level 3 has, I guess, the Dark Mimic mechanic. And yeah, this card's amazing. 2400 attack, 1700 defense. When the Dragon Star deck came out, it was like, I was so happy. Shame they cheaped out and didn't give you the level 7. Actually, they had a special edition release on the structure decks, and I got it at the time, where you got the Vampire Genesis, not the Vampire Genesis, what is it called? Zombie Madness, I think. Structure deck and the Dragon's Rage at the same time, and it came with a copy of Armed Dragon level 7 and Rope of Life, I want to say. But yeah, Armed Dragon level 7 should definitely have been in the structure deck. We'll talk about the structure deck soon. Really good on release, yeah? I don't think it's meta defining, but man, it is just a card that you roll out and start doing damage. I just love that you can float into the level 3 with Mass Dragon, which is in this set. What's the payoff if you level up into level 7, though? Wind Attribute, level 7, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by Armed Dragon level 5. You can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to that of the sent monster's attack. That's pretty good. It's sort of like Lightning Vortex, or sort of like Tribe Infecting Virus, where you can hit multiple targets, but it does still have the discard cost. It is a bit of a brick, though. 2800 attack, very reasonable. 1000 defense, little suspicious. I guess Tsukiyomi, too strong. I don't know if this card is playable, unfortunately. I think it's super weird putting it next to the level 3 without the level 5 next to it. But I don't know. Really good on release. On a budget playing, it was pretty good. Next up, Horus Servant. Very weird spelling. I understand, but it just throws me off every time. Fire Attribute, level 1, Beast Warrior effect. Your opponent cannot target face-up Horus the Black Flare Dragon with spells, traps, or card effects. So, a lot of protection, but this guy has no inherent protection. With 100, what are you going to do? He's going to get run over immediately. Good in theory. Even if this card was like a Union monster and you could equip it to your Horus and give them blanket protection, that'd be okay. Or if this was a spell, a field spell maybe. But right now, I just can't see the application. Next up, Red Eyes Beach Hick, which I think has had a name change. Because I think this card is not a Red Eyes card, is the new name change. Dark Attribute, level 1, Dragon, effect. You can send this face-up card you control to the graveyard. Oh, it's send. Special summon one Red Eyes Bee Dragon from your hand. 800 attack, 500 defense. I think that this card is just worse than Kaiba Man. Like, I guess theoretically, you could get it off of Mass Dragon and then bring out your Red Eyes, but then you're bringing out your Red Eyes, and that's the problem. Got right next to Queen's Guard in terms of pointlessness for Horus Servant. Yes, thank you. Black Dragon's Chick is the new name for it. Because some of the Red Eyes support would reference specifically Red Eyes, and yeah. I guess we might even downgrade it to very bad. Man, Red Eyes just not getting very good support. Blue Eyes has the power, Red Eyes has the potential. Next up, Malice Doll of Demise. Dark Attribute, level 4, Fiend effect. During your next standby phase after this card was sent from the field to the graveyard by the effect of a continuous spell. That is so narrow. Like, Ectoplasmer, and what else? Special summon this card from the graveyard, 1600 attack, 1700 defense. I think it's just filler. Look at his face! Yeah, he's scary. I don't know why he's got like metal finger claws on one hand but not the other. I feel like it's a little redundant. I don't know. Maybe that's the axe swinging hand. I don't know. Very spooky. I do like Arcana's cards. Next up, Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. Light attribute, level 4. It's a ninja, which is actually pretty useful. Warrior effect, at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks a face-up defense position monster. So this one hits face up, Mystic Swordsman level 2 hits face down. Destroy that monster. 1800 attack, 1000 defense. And it does the same function as Mystic Swordsman level 2. I don't know if you play it in your ninja deck, but it'd be interesting. Malice Doll of Demise looks like a Digimon. Malice Doll of Demise is a retrain of Doll of Demise, which was an anime-only vanilla. Yeah. There he is. Loves Sasuke. Next up, Rafflesia Seduction. I cannot believe that name hit the TCG. Like, it is weird that we got, like, Succubus Knight and Rafflesia Seduction. And just want to point out, Rafflesia is that big flower that Gloom is based on, and it is really awful smelling. It smells like rotting meat, I think is what Rafflesia smells like. But 1 in 1,000 people actually like the scent, or at least based on Gloom's description. Why did you choose such a bad-smelling flower for this card? But we're getting distracted. Earth attribute, level 2, plant effect, flip. Take control of one face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field until the end of this turn. 300 attack, 900 defense. It's okay. Just gonna put in filler. Feel like Sasuke could have an interesting tech case right now. Completely niche though. Rafflesia Seduction sounds like a Digimon. Attack. Interesting. Next up, Ultimate Baseball Kid. Fire attribute, level 3. Warrior effect. This card gains 1000 attack for each face-up fire monster on the field, except this card. You can send one other face-up fire monster you control to the graveyard, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. Oh no. That's not once per turn. This is well, it's not tribute to burn, but this is a burn card. Is there a good way to loop fire monsters? Is this another card that we gotta watch out for? I didn't even realize it. I think you can get it out with like Invoker, but that card's been banned forever. It's weird but fitting that the umpire's mitt looks so ominous. It's got a face for some reason. It looks like a piranha plant, I guess. Baseball Kid is so tough. Yeah, he's got spikes on his bat. MX Saver Invoker is unbanned right now and sees no play, so I guess you can use it with Invoker. If this card ends up causing an FTK, that's sad. Absolutely has been in an FTK deck multiple times. There we go. I think design mistake for FTK. Next up, Mobius the Frost Monarch. One of the better monarchs. Water attribute, level 6, Aqua effect. When this card is tribute summoned, you can target up to 2 spell or trap cards on the field, destroy those targets. It does target, but like, I can't think of any spell and traps that are immune to targeting. 2400 attack, 1000 defense. I love how this card is a +1. Like, it's just an easy +1 on summon. And there's a lot of different powerful traps, and a lot of them are battle traps, so they won't even be chained. Interesting. Ultimate Baseball Kid is a Konami arcade game reference. Interesting. Next up, Element Dragon. Light attribute, level 4, Dragon effect. This monster gets the following effects while there is a monster with the following attributes on the field. Boy, is that awkward. And just to be clear, all the element monsters pull from the same pool of effects. They're sort of mixed up which ones they're using. This one is fire and wind. The next one we're going to see is water and earth. But as we see more, they're going to be pulling from those same effects. But what does it do? Fire. This card gains 500 attack. That's not that bad. You could bring it out with Mass Dragon, potentially. It's got a decent amount of attack points. Wind. If this card destroyed your opponent's monster by battle, it can attack once again in a row. That's not that bad either. 1500 attack, 1200 defense. Maybe you put this in a dragon toolbox, but I think that there are better options. Dragon toolbox in itself is a little bit weird thought though. Next up, Element Soldier, which is not a warrior for some reason. And this really bugs me because this is a redundant type. When we get Element Doom later, that one's also a fiend. So if we had made the soldier a warrior, then it wouldn't be redundant. But I'm not in charge. It's a good thing I'm not in charge, because nothing would ever get done. Dark attribute, level 4, Fiend effect. This monster gains the following effects while there is a monsters with the following attributes on the field. I guess this is implying that one monster can have multiple attributes, and fair game, sometimes they can. Water. Control of this card cannot switch. That is such a marginal benefit. Earth. Negate the effect of an effect monster that this card destroyed by battle. That's pretty good. In one breath, I compliment Konami, and in the next, I admonish. Oh no. I think pretty much filler. I think the choice of attributes on this one is really bad too. Like when you think of Fiend, yeah, you think of dark, sometimes you think of light. You don't think of water or earth. So I think that's weird on it. At least Element Dragon sort of had, a lot of dragons are fire, a lot of dragons are wind. That makes a lot of sense. But this one is just, I don't know, man. If it were a warrior, then maybe there's a lot of earth warriors, which, I don't know. The wind, I guess there's not a lot of fire warriors, not a lot of wind warriors, not a lot of water warriors. I don't know. Yeah. I'm starting to notice that early Yu-Gi-Oh sets are filled with gimmicks and then a handful of busted stuff. Exactly. That's just the way the game was designed, I think. It makes it sad, though. Because sometimes I think the gimmicks are the most fun part of the game. Next up, Howling Insect. Earth attribute level 3, Insect effect. When this card is destroyed as a result of battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one insect type monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. Then shuffle your deck. 1200 attack, 1300 defense. Completely playable. But also pretty much filler. I think we keep it in good as on release. The problem is insects are not really good. I would die to make a Ghost Tricks deck work interesting. Isn't that the point of Ghost Tricks, that they're already dead? I'd love a format where only gimmick cards are legal. I think Cube is what you're looking for, where you just take out the potentially overpowered cards and you're left with the card pool that's all the lower rungs. And I think that's something that we're really missing in the game. Next up, Mass Dragon. It's interesting that these are level 3. But our other battle floater for the set, Fire attribute, level 3, Dragon effect. When this card is destroyed as a result of battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Dragon-type monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. 1400 attack, so it can get float into itself. And 1100 defense. And I don't think I've seen it be played, but I do love the little bit of synergy that you go Mass Dragon, float into your Arm Dragon level 3, let it level up during your standby phase. I think it's cute. Alt format / cubes in general are the most fun I've had in Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long while. Me too. I think there's like the idea of equality ban lists that I find interesting, where it's manually banning cards until everything's about the same power level. I think older formats in general, though, are where a lot of the most fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are. Next up, Mind on Air. That name is super awkward, but it's a reference to one of the penalty games in the manga. So, that's where the name comes from. Level 6, Spellcaster effect. Your opponent must play with their hand revealed. 1000 attack, 1600 defense. This effect is pretty good. Just gathering information on your opponent is really strong. How do you get it out? What do you do with it? I like the idea of knowing what hand traps my opponent has without having to worry about them. But how do you get it on the field? What do you do with it then? It's just a dead end is the problem. There's probably going to be a card eventually that special summons this directly from the deck, which is going to make it useful, but I can't think of one. Manjome did the exact strategy with Mass Dragon and Arm Dragon. Yeah. I'm trying to build a cube with the 5 retro sets that got reprinted, but finding cube majigs? Cube majigs. What? But for Japanese sized cards is impossible. I don't know what that is. Seeing these cards is definitely when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was big in school. Oh, that's more than 4 stars. Yeah, it's 6. For my age group at least. Like, what is Mind on Air? A cyborg? An alien? It's a spellcaster. But I think that this card would definitely be a psychic if it were remade today. Same thing with Jinzo. Oh, okay. Resealed booster packs. Interesting. She's pretty. Resealable booster packs. Oh. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I guess there's a big draft aspect with that. Next up, we get 2 more of our double tributors. We got 2 last set, I think. This one is Unshaven Angler. And boy, is that weird. Like, that's a female anglerfish, I think. Just based on how anglerfish are. Water attribute level 4, fish effect. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a water monster. 1500 attack, 1600 defense. I think that they're just filler. Next up, the Trojan Horse. Earth attribute, level 4, beast effect. I do like the typing on this. I think the fish for water, totally fine. Beast for earth, totally fine. Not Kaiser Seahorse for light, though. Beast effect. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of an earth monster. 1600 attack, 1200 defense, so you actually miss out on Giant Rat getting this one out. And I can't think of a monster you want to tribute summon with this. Actually, now that I think of it, I can't think of anything that you actually want to bring out with the Angler either. Yeah, what monster am I actually summoning with the Angler? And the best thing I can think of is like Levia Dragon Daedalus. But you want to be playing a Legendary Ocean with that, so I don't know. Literal Trojan Horse. It's got people inside of it, and those count as tributes too. Is Super Coelacanth. Oh. that is an interesting. Super Ancient Deep Sea Coelacanth is nowhere close to coming out yet. Mind on Air was an Alexis card? I don't know about that. Trojan Horses. What? Big Koala? Yeah, you can't get anything out with it, I guess. Crowler used. Oh yeah, your Ancient Gear Golem, which is 3 or 4 sets away, I guess. Next up, we got some retrains. We got Noble Maneater Bug. Earth attribute, level 5. Insect effect, flip, destroy 2 monsters on the field. I guess it has to do exactly 2. What happens if you flip it and it's the only one on the field? You can use Trojan Horse to bring out Blade Edge, but oh, that's gross. Just use Necroshade. I think these retrains are unfortunately, double the effect for much steeper cost. And I just think that that's not good enough. Which is unfortunate, because Noble Maneater Bug is cool. But we have Monarchs. We have Zaborg. We're going to get Ryza. We got Mobius. Nowhere close enough to being playable in my mind. It's still slow and clunky, and Nobleman of Crossout is just going to take this out. Maybe if this card was released, I don't know, in Metal Raiders, it'd be a little better. I like the implication that it takes 2 monster pops to eat a single nobleman. Oof. I think there's some confusion about the name. I didn't think that this was eating noblemen. I thought that this was a noble man-eater bug, but I guess there's no space between them, so I'm wrong. Next up, Enraged Muka Muka. Earth attribute, level 5, rock effect. This card gains 400 attack and defense for each card in your hand. I think Muka Muka gains 300, so this is an increase. Starts with 1200 attack and 600 defense, and that's actually pretty good. And I think this is pretty good specifically with Giant Rat, because you need 2 cards in hand to make this a 2000 attack monster. I don't think you're naturally tribute summoning this card. I think that that's the wrong way to go about it, but in your Rat toolbox, I think that's pretty good. You're going to have 2 cards in hand a lot of the time. You're going to have more than 2 cards in hand sometimes. Next up, Hade Hane. So, Hane Hane is in Legend of Blue Eyes, and it is like Featherblade. This one translates to Gaudy Blade, which is weird. Earth attribute, level 5, beast, flip, effect, flip. You can return up to 3 monsters on the field to the owner's hands. So this one's actually triple the effect of Hane Hane. Because I guess if we got, if it was just double the effect of Hane Hane, then it would just be Penguin Soldier but bad. Instead, this is Penguin Soldier and Hane Hane but bad. Absolutely trash, yeah. You're just not tribute setting. Next up, Penumbral Soldier Lady. Dark attribute, level 6, warrior effect. If this card battles a light monster, this card gains 1000 attack during the damage step only. 2100 attack, 1400 defense, and we have Cypher Soldier. Ooh, you can run Hane Hane or Hade Hane as tech in Subterror. Interesting. That is very interesting, because you want to bounce instead of destroy. Very interesting. I'll put it in gimmick. Penumbral Soldier Lady, though, I'm just gonna say it's bad. This is bad Cypher Soldier. Next up, Ojama King. Light attribute, level 6. Beast fusion effect. Materials are Ojama Green, Ojama Yellow, and Ojama Black. And I think that this card is significant just because of those materials. Like, there's a lot of different things that rely on having a monster with specific fusion materials. Sad that Future Fusion, gets nerfed, but that's one example. Prisma is an example. Was it Fusion Reserve? Yeah, there's a lot of them. The effect, though. Choose up to 3 of your opponent's unused monster zones. I think this might have had errata to say main monster zones, but this is a speed duel card, so I don't know. Maybe it can hit the extra monster zone. Or maybe the extra monster zones aren't necessarily your opponent's. Those zones cannot be used. I want to point out that this effect only takes place when Ojama King is still on the field. It sounds like they can't be used from the rest of the duel, but that's not it. Put the king as acceptable in archetype, or else we riot. Oh no, no riot. If he clinches harder, he'll bite through his tongue? No, he'll bite through his jaw. Oh man. I'm going to put it in acceptable as in archetype. I think it's cool. I think the actual effect is pretty okay, too. Maybe you use it with, like, defusion to get your Ojamas back. I don't know. Next up, Master of Oz. Earth attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Weird level. Beast fusion. Materials are Big Koala and Death Kangaroo. From the last 2 sets, I believe. 4200 attack, 3700 defense. Oh, this is so close. If you have this card in Wild Nature's Release, you have 7900 attack. so you can't one-shot your opponent. Is that intentional? It's like so close. Maybe Ojama King is the actual something that happens when we bring all three Ojamas together, not the Delta Hurricane. That is an interesting theory. I know for a fact that this card was a target that you run with Cyberstein, but I don't know if it's the best. I guess it's got to be the best because it takes forever for Blue Eyes Ultimate to come out and Dragon Master Knight after that, so I don't know. Master of Oz, the Big OZ. Real cool card. I like it as a boss monster. It's just really strong. Next up, Sandwich. This card is literally unplayable for a lot of the history of the game. Dark Attribute, level 6. Like, right now you can use Ready Fusion and bring this thing out, but level 6 was really significant because you couldn't bring it out with Instant Fusion. Metamorphosis was banned. Like, Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest were both banned through a lot of the game. So, even if you had a fusion substitute card like King of the Swamp or Beast King of the Swamp or Versaga the Destroyer, there's a lot of them, you still couldn't bring out Sandwich, which is really funny to me. Spellcaster Fusion, materials are Sangan and Witch of the Black Forest. 2100 attack, 1800 defense. So difficult to bring out. And then no payoff. It's just sad. Have you done videos on the Sangan card lore? Not yet. I want to make a lot of different lore videos, and it's just a topic that I haven't been able to properly approach. I used to do Art of Lore videos, but I didn't like the way that I sound and tone. I think I'm too serious in them, and I want to be a lot looser, especially with interesting lore cards like Snipe Hunter's got a good story too. With Ready Fusion, maybe Sandwich will see play one day. I think it's interesting with the Fusion Reserve that you can now search for Sangan and Witch of the Black Forest, but neither one of them are good, and that's the problem. Next up, Dark Factory of Mass Production. Normal spell, target 2 normal monsters in your graveyard, add them to your hand. This is a +1. This is normal salvage. This is not restricted by levels. I think it works with Gemini monsters. Gemini monsters are normal in the graveyard, so that works in their favor, I guess. Works with Pendulum monsters, except Pendulum monsters don't usually go to the graveyard, but they can. I don't know. It's a very good card in Moki Moki, hence the artwork. Is there a deck that's using this many normal monsters and wants them back in hand? Yeah, it works well with Geminis. Okay. Like, there's a lot of decks that want to run one normal monster, like Melfi, or Jinx, or let me think of some of the others. Dino Rabbit. It's good in Exodia. Oh man, it's a great in Exodia. World Chalice, possibly. Oh, that is some shade. Ooh woo. The name and this place looks nicer to work than most Amazon warehouses. Ooh. By the way, that's Goblin of Greed. Another great lore card. I'm guessing this is his day job? Or he's making an honest buck somehow? I don't know. Dark Factory Mass Production, great for getting back 2 Garnets. Yeah. Do you want to get back 2 garnets? I'm going to keep it up there. Worth considering doesn't mean run it, but I think you think about it. Next up, Hammer Shot. Normal spell, destroy one face-up attack position monster that has the highest attack. If it's a tie, you get to choose. This card's solid play. It's just okay semi-situational removal. Jarvis just, I need my 2 garnets back. I think with Rabbit, it makes sense at least. That you're going to use them for link material or something. I don't know. Actually, with Link Spider, there might be a very reasonable use case where you've used your normal monster and then you want to get it back into hand. Non-targeting, yeah, it is non-targeting, but it is still destruction removal. It's pretty good. I don't know if this card has had an effect changing errata to designate whether or not it targets. That is a good question. Man, Konami, fix your game. There's so much confusion. Google says it doesn't target. Oh, Google's a good source. Yippee! Next up, Mind Wipe. And I think that this card is not good, but also immediately outshined by a card later in the set. And I think that is really weird. Like, we already have Disturbance Strategy, and Disturbance Strategy does this, but I guess it's not a quick play spell. But what does this do? Activate only if your opponent has 3 or less cards in their hand. Your opponent adds their hand to the deck and shuffles it, then draws the same number of cards they added to the deck. So, theoretically, use Mind Wipe after your opponent has been searching cards or something, but they only have 3 cards in hand, and you're going -1 to slightly disrupt your opponent. I just don't understand the logic behind it. And it's a quick play spell. It's a forced reload for your opponent. Is the same guy on Mind Hackers? I believe it is. I guess he's having a real bad day. Next up, Abyssal Designator. This card is almost good. Like, I would forgive anyone for misreading it slightly. I definitely have. Pay 1,000 life points. Declare a type and an attribute. Your opponent must send 1 monster with both the declared type and attribute from their hand or deck to the graveyard. And your mind might be going where mine did, like Ash Blossom. You could get rid of a copy of Ash Blossom, but if they're running Ash Blossom, because it's got a pretty unique type attribute combination, there are other hand traps too. Like they might be running Cycle Reader or DD Crow or a whole bunch of different problematic ones. Dimension Shifter is a good one. If they're running a hand trap that's outside of their archetype, you might think that Abyssal Designator can take it out, but they're probably running multiple copies, and they'll just get rid of the one in the deck, meaning you've paid 1,000 life points and gone -1. If this card only hit the hand, it'd be slightly useful, because then you'd at least get the information. But yeah, they get to choose where to send it from, so. Unfortunately, very bad. Artwork, also pretty bad. It's not quite the beginning of the end, but man. Pretty lacking. DD Designator, much better. Which is a little sad that Abyssal's not. I guess Abyssal Designator is a lot less risky. DD Designator, if you guess wrong, you lose a card from your hand, and that's bad. Lower risk, lower payoff. Lower risk, no payoff. At worst, this card is a free Foolish Burial for your opponent, and that's not good. Next up, Level Up. Normal spell, send one face-up level monster you control to the graveyard. Special summon one monster from your hand or deck that is listed in the sent card's text, ignoring its summoning conditions. So there are some really cool things that you can do with Level Up. And I'm going to put it in the middle of the level monsters. Like, conceivably, you could cheat out a higher level really fast. We love ignoring the summoning conditions. Yeah, there's level modulation that comes out later, and if that card didn't give your opponent free draws, it'd be even better. But unfortunately, no. I sure hope Fossil Fusion doesn't get a worse Abyssal Designator card that's a -2. They would never. What is that in reference to? I like Level Up. I guess this is the Red Eyes support set, because we got the Chick and we got Inferno Fire Blast. Last time we got Dark Magic Attack, and before that we got Burst Stream of Destruction. So, what does Red Eyes get? Red Eyes gets target one Red Eyes Black Dragon in your monster zone, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Red Eyes B Dragon cannot attack the turn you activate this card. This card supports FTKs, sort of. I can't think of a good way to loop it, and that is really good. Because if you could loop this easily, then you only have to do it 4 times. Because that's 2,400, that equals 7,200, so you do need to hit like an Ukazi or something else. Why does it have to target your own Red Eyes? -1 to be a worse toon monster for a turn isn't a good place to be. Just, I think it's just bad. If this card was a little stronger, like if it did the current attack of the Red Eyes, then it could be a problem. But why does it have to target? Oh, I understand. Yeah, because sometimes you make your own cards immune to targeting. Next up, we got Ectoplasmer to go with the Malice Doll of Demise. Just draw Red Eyes Fusion and 2 Inferno Fire Blast to make Red Eyes Flare Dragon to FTK. Yeah. That might be too many cards. I guess we do put it next to the Baseball Kid. Thankfully, Ectoplasmer is not going to FTK, I think. Specimen inspections show Fossil Fusion, send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard. Declare a type and level when your opponent sends 1 monster with the declared type and level from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Oh, I see. Oh, there is a worse version of Abyssal Designator out there. Oh no. Back to Ectoplasmer. Continue a spell once per turn during each player's end phase. The turn player must tribute 1 face-up monster, and if they do, inflict damage to the opponent equal to half the original attack of the tributed monster. Interesting. I didn't realize it wasn't optional. Is this a removal option? Like, not a good one, but think about it. If they have 1 big monster on the field, you could take it out. And keep in mind, we're talking like years ago, before Kaijus. I guess we got Lava Golem, but I guess you can give them the Lava Golem activate Ectoplasmer, but I don't know. To me, this sort of reads like how Epikyo Drakmord saw a little bit of play as recurring card advantage. And it sort of is. Granted, you'll have to, I guess you tribute your Malice Doll Demise. And maybe you get some other cards that get value when tributed. I don't know. Maybe Ectoplasma is better than I thought. I understand its intended purpose is for recurring damage with Malice Doll Demise. But maybe it's got a little bit of other utility. I don't know. I guess the card's better than I think it is. Maybe we not that good though. Next up, Graveyard in the 4th Dimension. Normal spell. Add 2 level monsters from your graveyard to your deck and shuffle it. So bad. It's not salvage. It's Ray of Hope, but for your level monsters. Ectoplasma. So we got Cowboy for game. What about Ectoplasma for game? I don't know about Awful Effect. Oh, Graveyard in the 4th Dimension. Yes, Awful Effect. Next up, 2-man Cell Battle, and I really feel like this is a wasted opportunity. Continuous spell. During each player's end phase, the turn player can special summon 1 level 4 normal monster from their hand. 1, it's exactly level 4, so that's a small problem. 2, and I think more significantly, it's only during the end phase, and it is symmetric. I don't care about it being symmetric because your opponent might not have the normal monsters. But I don't know. If this was during your main phase, special summon a normal monster from your hand, I think it would be way stronger. It'd be not ancient rules, still make it level 4 or lower, but right now it's just not good. I know in the video game, this card gives you a lot of tempo, and that's interesting. They should have said the 3rd dimension because it's a card on Graveyard in the 4th dimension. Loved this card as a kid. Waste of a great name for a card like this, yeah. This and Graveyard. It's okay, we'll make a retrain. 2-man Cell Melee. But not today. Next up, Big Wave, Small Wave. Normal spell, destroy all face-up water monsters you control. Then, you can special summon water monsters from your hand up to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect. This card's cool. There are some floaters that get value out of Big Wave, Small Wave, but more interestingly for me, this card saw a little bit play as a tempo card. Why are there 3 people fighting in the art? I'd say in 2-man Cell Battle, it started out with Gagigo and Marauding Captain because they're already feuding, and then Impachi joins the fight. I love Big Wave, Small Wave. Yeah, I think it's genuinely decent. It's a minus possibly several, but with cards like Treeborn Frog and the Fishborgs and a whole bunch of other cards, it doesn't matter as much. Next up, Fusion Weapon. Wanted to pop off with Big Wave, Small Wave. Yeah. There are some interesting options. It'd be really cool if it had like Gigabyte in the artwork and the wave was washing it away and then you get Goga Giga Gagi Go. That'd be cool. But we're not redesigning. Fusion Weapon. Equip spell. Equip only to a level 6 or lower fusion monster. So weird. Why can't it be higher? It gains 1500 attack and defense. That is a crazy amount. And it does nothing. Fusion Weapon in an Ear Hero deck as a kid, because OMG, 3k in stats. How could this card not be good? Yeah. If you liked Fusion Weapon, then you'll love Ritual Weapon, because I think Ritual Weapon is much more playable. Talk about needing a retrain. I think if you just gave them an additional effect, like some sort of protection, then it'd be better. Because, putting it on your Winda, or putting it on, your low-level Colossus or other ritual monsters, that'd be interesting. And it has the edgy Dark Magician card in the artwork. Oh, it's got Dark Flare Knight on it, yeah. Ritual Weapon has, Paladin of White Dragon. So, that's cool. Same effect. Equip only to a level 6 or lower ritual monster. It gains 1500 attack and defense. I think the artwork's awesome, too. Next up, Taunt, which has a completely different OCG artwork. I mean, it's got the same idea and the same pose, but I guess like real world reference or violence or boxers, I don't know. What does it do? Normal trap, activate only during your opponent's main phase 1, select one monster on your side of the field. While the selected monster remains on the field, if your opponent attacks with a monster this turn, they must select the selected monster as the attack target. It does what it says it does, and it pretty much does what it does in Pokemon. Makes you the attack target. I don't think that's very good, because they see it coming. So they're just going to try to pop it. And like, what are you using, Taunt? What are you want your battle floater to die, I guess? They're going to crash into it anyway. I just don't see the point. Maybe we put it in very bad. It's crazy Paladin's on this card because we're never keeping him out on the field long enough to attack. I'm mixing up Follow Me with Taunt. Taunt stops non-damaging moves? Oh no, I am. This is how they use Switch. Switch is different. Switch is much better because you don't see it coming. It would really need to force the attack to be worth it, yeah. Sorry, I'm mixing up Follow Me with Taunt. That's weird. Next up, Absolute End. And this artwork, amazing. You got the Invader of Darkness, you got Gagigo, and you got random soldier guy, I don't know. And it sort of looks like my body as a shield in terms of what's happening. Activate only during your opponent's turn. This turn, the attacks from your opponent's monsters become direct attacks. Yikes. That sounds super negative. It sounds really bad. But if we go to the next card, Spirit Barrier, we see the same scene from the opposite perspective, which is just fantastic. Oh, it is amazing. And the effects actually work together. While you control a monster, you take no battle damage. So the idea is you make your opponent attack directly in order to save your monsters. And since you have a monster on the field, you won't take any battle damage. And this is a 2-card Wabaku. which already exists. A worse version of Wabaku. I don't get it. Gotta make sure that Kagigo has his pants on. Yep, Kagigo's wearing the shorts in Absolute End, and I'm not sure in Spirit Barrier. I unironically love the attack shifting cards because it actually feels like interaction. Yeah. It protects your monsters. Kinda. Absolute End, top 10 best names, top 10 most narrow effects. I like that. Yeah, Spirit Barrier is pretty good in Cloudians. I can agree with that. It's called Absolute End because you just threw the match. I'm going to say Spirit Barrier is good. Next up, Ninjutsu Art of Decoy. And look at that. This is really good artwork too. I know we're getting a lot of good artwork. But we saw Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke and he was wearing that weird green cloak. And then he took off the green cloak and gave it to, what is it? Ancient Dweller of the Forest. It's not Trent, it's the counterpart to Trent that is OCG exclusive. But yeah, new ninjutsu art card. What does it do? Activate by selecting one face-up ninja monster on your side of the field. The selected monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Damage calculation is applied normally. But you still take the damage. Poor guy. Referring to the tree, I guess. I think since you can add ninjutsu cards from deck to hand, and a lot of your cards benefit from it, I don't know. Maybe you play it in your ninja deck. I'm not saying it's a strong recommendation, but I can understand if you do. It's okay utility. Run, Sasuke, run! They should have just called him Trent 2. I think Trent might be the second one released. I don't know. The counterparts are weird. Next up, Innervating Mist. Continuous Trap. Your opponent's hand size limit becomes 5? Like, if this card made your opponent's hand size go to 3 or no, maybe 1? If it made it go way significantly lower, then maybe it'd be okay. But right now, this card does almost nothing. In the, what does that say? Infante? In the infant games of Yu-Gi-Oh, someone has used Absolute End to protect a Baron de Fleur. Graceful Charity is fighting for her life. Yeah, I guess that is the one from Graceful Charity. She's sad. This is how 95% learned the game has a hand size least at the time. I think infinite cards might be, or what is it? Hierophant Lithograph. I think this card's just trash. Artwork's cool. I mean, it's sad, but it's cool. Speaking of good artwork, we got Heavy Slump, and we got the OCG artwork. And I think this is pretty fair regionalization. They just changed the words so that we can read them in English. That's fair. Normal Trap, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in hand, so pretty high bar to clear. They shuffle their entire hand into the deck, then draw 2 cards. And this card has seen play occasionally. Like, some decks will just add a whole bunch of cards during the end phase if you're playing Super Rejuvenation or, what is it, Spellbook of Judgment. So, from time to time, Heavy Slump on very high advantage decks makes sense. So, keep it in the back of your mind. Good lore card, though. This is, I think, a stock market crash because it's got a whole bunch of different assets. Like you invest in soybeans and pork belly and copper. Very fun. Does it see any play in the OCG because of Maxi? Ooh, that's an interesting application too. Just look at him. He's having a bad day. Yeah, leave the Goblin of Greed alone. Let's get Bad's allergies. He wakes up the dragon. He's got a great story, but man, is he having a bad time. But he also does deserve it somewhat. He does bad things too. Next up, Greed. Just Greed. Each time a player draws cards because of a card effect, they take 500 damage during the end phase for each card drawn by the card effect. I guess this card it hard counters your max C too. Pretty narrow. I guess it's just normal bad. Is there a way to combine ref panel and rollback that you draw two? Oh, if you're just trying to make your opponent draw cards, there are tons of ways that you can do it. Gift of Greed just gives your opponent two cards. Max C punished during the third term with the previous trap. Like, I understand what you're saying, but you could just give your opponent cards with Gift of Greed or level modulation. Soul of Fire gives your opponent cards. There's a ton of ways that you can force them to have that many cards in hand and then activate Heavy Slump during the main phase. Considering all the of Greed cards, this card named Just Greed should be theoretically busted. Yeah. Art's really cool. It's like gold coins turning into rocks, and I guess the rocks are going to hit him or something. I don't know. Yeah, we love jank. we love jank on this channel. Next up, Mind Crush. Normal trap, declare one card name. If the card is in your opponent's hand, they must discard all copies of it. Otherwise, you discard one random card. Hey, that last part's even upside in Dark Worlds, because this is discard by effect, not discard for cost. The only problem I have is this is pretty slow now. I think it can't go any higher than meta at one point. It's been meta in a lot of different games, or in a lot of different metagames, but I don't know. Are you using Mind Crush today? Ah, the Trust Me Bro card. Right, because you have to reveal your hand. Mind Crush is great in a game with save states. Oh, that's cheating. A card called Greed is raw power. Theoretically, you could use Mind Crush today with, like, the Labyrinth Butler, maybe. I don't know. You don't have to reveal your hand. Sometimes they have to reveal their hand. In instances where you think that there are multiple copies of a card in their hand, or they need to reveal their hand to show you that they don't have any in the first place. Oh, you just have to take their word. Oh, I don't like that. This is a cheating card. I don't like that at all. I don't like anything that encourages cheating. Next up, Muko, which reads Null and Void. This card, I think, had a name change because of either Infernoids or Infernity. I think they both have Void spell and traps. I think Void Cauldron is an Infernity card, and Void Dreams is an Infernoid card. But has had to change, but I guess they haven't printed a new copy of the card to update the name. They updated the rules. Yep, trust me, bro. I drew it for turn. Oh. Would a judge catch you in like a big game hypothetically, or like what? Null and void is a weird way to spell soul charge. I don't get that one. Like, the Japanese name for null and void just translates to invalid, I think. Activate only when an effect of drawing cards is activated. Both players see the cards drawn by the effect and discard all of them to the graveyard. Oh, it's got the exact same art as Soul Charge. I see. I see that now. This card's like drop off or drastic drop off, or I don't know, is that good? Filler, I guess? I mean, you're using like Droll and Lockbird, right? Or what are you using? Ash Blossom? Or I think it's, yeah, I don't think it's even good on release. Theoretically, there's a lot of different counters to your opponent just racking up card advantage in this set, which is nice. Next up, Gorgon's Eye, which I almost read as Gorgonzola. Until the end of this turn, all effects of defense position monsters are negated. Oh man, this card hard counters super heavy samurais. Sorry to talk about the old card, but you literally not allowed to call a judge to check on Mind Crush. That's specifically in the ruling. Yeah, it is very weird that Muko lets you see the cards because they go to the graveyard and the graveyard's public information. That is weird. Man, Mind Crush is annoying. One word, Scareclaw. Okay. Is there a weird interaction with like Gorgon's Eye and the Labyrinth Butler, maybe? I don't know. Next up, Cemetery Bomb. It used to be spelled Cemetery, Cemetery. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure that's the spelling in Pet Cemetery, but I might be wrong on that one. Cemetery with not just an E, with 3 E's is sort of correct, or at least it's widespread enough error that you see it in some actual cemeteries. Anyway, this name change, not sure how necessary it was. It's weird. Like, there's 2 different cards that have the word Judgment. I think Hand of Judgment puts the E in it, but the what is it? Like, Judgment of Anubis doesn't have the E in Judgment. It's just very weird. What does it do? Normal Trap, inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each card in their graveyard. Wow. Cemetery Bomb is Playground OTK card. It's only 100 damage, though. For, like, Blasting the Ruins is 3,000 damage. This card, you gotta wait a really long time. Like, I can see this being an OTK, but then your opponent's just gonna deck out at that point. I don't know. I don't like Cemetery Bomb. I think it's pretty useless. Last card in the set, Hallowed Life Barrier. discard 1 card. You take no damage from your opponent's cards this turn, so that's effect damage and battle damage. Also, your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. That's just Wabaku. So this is Wabaku, but more expensive, but also slightly better. I don't know about this one. Just no, I'm not losing by damage this turn. Is there ever a circumstance where you want this? Like right now there's plenty of counterplay for battle and plenty of counterplay for effect damage, but this card does both of them. But it's also really expensive and a trap card. I don't know. It's pretty bad. I think we just put it in normal bad. Imagine Zane pitches his whole deck and his brother flips Cemetery Bomb. Interesting. Poor Cyrus. Discard 1 for stopping effect damage is pretty bad. Yeah, I'll put it in bad. Okay. And we download the image because we got a request to do that. I guess we save it for later too. And now for something not completely different. Let's get on the dueling book and take off that image right there. There we go. This has been on my mind and is just... I mentioned a few streams ago that I think that Dark Magician could function in a deck. And boy, are there a lot of options when it comes to trying to build a functional Dark Magician deck. Like, the route that I eventually ended on was focus on Dark Paladin, because Dark Paladin's just strong negation. And I say run the 2 skilled magicians and the Emblem of Dragon Destroyer and King of the Swamp to get out the polymerization, Miracle Restoring. You got plenty of spell counters looking around, and you can get back either your Dark Magician or your Buster Blader, which you can pitch with other things. I thought about running Apprentice Magician Engine, because then you get access to Magician of Faith, Old Vindictive, and even your Time Wizard. And if you're running your Time Wizard anyway, then you can run Dark Sage, but whew. It's so hard. Are you going to build decks for other formats covered so far? Possibly. How many pets do you have? 2 cats. It doesn't look that bad. This is, I don't know. Did I forget to put Buster Blader in the main deck? That is a big flaw. That's the other thing that I keep having trouble with specifically is I want to put all the cards in the deck, and maybe you drop down to like 2 copies of Thousand Knives, and maybe you drop one of the Miracle Restorings. You should probably put Buster Blader in it though. Here we go. But I think it's really interesting that there's so many different directions with the Dark Magician. The other ones you could go with the Dark Magician Girl and Sage's Stone, because Sage's Stone, really strong effect. You could go with Dark Magician Knight, which requires the Knight's title. That one's okay. You can go with the Demok route with the Dedication Through Light and Darkness. Demok's a really good card at the time, so... Also, you want Sinister Serpent to fit in there, maybe, because Dark Paladin. You can go the Reasoning route, because you got such a level diverse deck. Man, it is just something that's been on my mind, and I can't decide how to do the Dark Magicians. I also got, because I mentioned it, the Chessboard Archfiends. Because you got Falling Down, and you got Archfiend's Roar, and you actually have this card called Puppet Magic of the Dark Ruler. You got a lot going for them because Pandemonium's great. You got some pretty decent cards with like Lesser Fiend that gives you a little bit of graveyard disruption. You got Archfiend Soldier. You got Skull Archfiend of Lightning. This deck just can keep generating advantage, and it's really fast because you got triple terraforming and man. When is the next stream? It's going to be in 2 weeks. So we're looking at September 14th. The final thing I wanted to show off was a level-based deck. And I think this is directly in line with what we had today. I might make a deck for every format, but you got access to Stamping Destruction, so you got some spell and trap removal. Creature swap here is mostly for the Mass Dragons, but Mass Dragon opens up a really interesting toolbox. Of course, we talked about Armed Dragon level 3, but you also have access to Greywing, and Greywing is a double attacker. There's also Spirit Ryu, which can come out and get 2,000 attack. That's not bad, and it's a quick effect. Twin-Headed Behemoth to survive multiple attacks. Troop Dragon, which I couldn't fit into the deck. Mirage Dragon, just to stop your opponent's trap cards. And I did not put it, but Element Dragon, pretty okay too. I think this deck has a decent amount of potential, specifically in this format, but only because Super Rejuvenation is so busted. Like, you discard for your Armed Dragon effects, and then you benefit from Super Rejuvenation. Discard for Greywing, Super Rejuvenation. What else? Tribute for Metamorphosis. Super Rejuvenation to make up the card advantage. Discard for Morphing Jar. Super Rejuvenation. Card Destruction. Super Rejuvenation. You get the point. Discard with Spirit Ryu. Super Rejuvenation. I can see it working in my head. I don't know if this works in real life, but I can't wait to try it out sometime. Because then you get to actually use level monsters as intended, like right after they're released. And before you ask, I put Royal Decree and everything because I run out of room by the time I get to trap cards. And one Torrential Tribute because it's good. Discard for Tribe Infecting Virus. Get it back with Super Rejuvenation. Opponent played Robin Goblin. Super Rejuvenation. Yeah. Draw Super Rejuvenation during the end phase. Activate it. Draw more cards. It just makes the deck a lot faster. So. I do want to support a lot of different older formats sometime, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm definitely entering this deck into a tournament sometime, though. Okay. Finally, here's the updates. So there's going to be a short hiatus because the streams end up taking 10 hours of prep time, and I really enjoy doing them, but it is cutting into my ability to do other things, and I want to do some main content just for the next few weeks. Mass Dragon into Armed Dragon was always a fun combo. Yeah. Hopefully we're going to be able to finish some of the series we got going right now. We got the Enhancer deck that's got 2 segments and then maybe some bonus segments that someone's already predicted. I still need to do the Q&A answer part. I actually have a pretty good idea for that, but we'll see if I can get that done in a reasonable time, because I got like 16 pages of script already, and it's a lot. Pleasure as always. Good night, Uwu. But yeah, the plan is to finish up some of the existing projects, and the next live event is going to be 9/14/24, so September 14th. Is that a Blaj shark the cat is sitting on? Oh, what is the cat sitting on? Oh, it's just on the body pillow. I wanted to show one more thing while we're on stream, and this is partially my fault for premature optimization, but this is the spreadsheet of cumulative releases, and it is thousands of cells. The black cells are specifically reprints, so I can see when a card is reprinted, so I don't have to worry about putting it in again. But I've been doing a lot of research in the background, and it just keeps going and going and going. And going. The green column is because sometimes they don't have the quotation marks, so I have to put the quotation marks to make sure that it recognizes the names correctly. Yeah. So I am like 13,000 cards deep in terms of release schedule, and we can actually see where I am in terms of release. 2004, 2006, 2007, 8, and I'm trying to get this as complete as possible, but sets are starting to get crazy at some point. Like I had 3 columns for archetypes in the beginning, and then at some point just so many archetypes get support in each set that I think yeah, that's 25 minus 6, that's 19 different archetypes are supported in Jotl, which is Judgment of the Light. So also got the OCG cumulative releases, but this one's not nearly as done. But this is to keep track of the OCG cards, and I wanted to map out when they get printed into the TCG, but there's a lot. So that's a little look behind the scenes. Dubba 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 dubba, super rejuvenation. I like super rejuvenation a lot. It's just a really good card. It's during the end phase, but you know, in older formats you're gonna get another turn to play, so I think that's it for tonight though. Future events, I might do like a little deck profile. Our sets are now down to 60 cards for a little while, and then they go back up to, I want to say, 100 cards after some point, because they start getting OCG imports inside of them. But we've met the OCG TCG merge, where they're being released at the same time, more or less. What if they use Heavy Slump on you after you super rejuvenation? Well, you got me there. Yeah. 2 weeks hiatus and then the next live event, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Have a great night. Thank you. I always enjoy them. This is my favorite thing to do on the channel by far. It's just a lot of prep work. And it's easily the most fun thing I enjoy on here. Also, your name is Optimizing Everything. I like that name. That's cute. Well, good night, everybody.